For a while now, I've really wanted to do a vlog on this book because it's very important to me, and how it came to me is equally important. The book is titled Ask and It Is Given. This book might just give the answer of why are we here on this earth? What are we supposed to be doing? What is our purpose in life? Now, to say that one book has the answers to that is a pretty bold statement. The book even says, only in the first chapter, you only hear what you are ready to hear. If I really believe that this is one of the solid teachings in the book, is that you only hear what you are ready to hear, then why would I be here trying to convince you? So understand that right away, as I'm really not. I am simply here to give you a gift. I would like to share this gift with people who are willing to hear, willing to receive it in their hearts, and make changes, maybe take control of their lives, and help make this living experience, this physical experience, a better experience for all of us. With that being said, let's get to it. Okay, so the book, Ask and It Is Given, is a book written by Esther Hicks. But this is where it can get a little tricky, is because Esther is a channel or a medium. Now, if you are not familiar with a channel or a medium, the way I see it and the way I've come to understand it is that a channel or a medium is very much like a television or a radio that is picking up frequencies and sending out information to a listener. So the actual content of the book that gives all of this wisdom, this information, is actually not Esther's exact words. It is information that is given to her, channeled through her, by a non-physical entity that calls itself Abraham. Esther herself gives an explanation of how this information and the knowledge of this book is actually the wisdom of Abraham. Okay, so well then, who is Abraham? Abraham is not actually a person. Abraham is a group of non-physical beings. Abraham exists on a non-physical plane with no physical body. Because there are no bodies, then there is no voice. The way that Abraham explains how they communicate is through vibration. That non-physical entities match with like-minded non-physical entities because they match vibration. And that these entities, because of this vibration that they share, create what we would call families. In fact, Abraham explains about this attraction to each other through vibration is exactly what we do here on our physical plane. Our vibration matches other people's vibration, and that's what brings us together. Abraham also explains that the reason why we do this and the reason why we know this is because we are actually from that non-physical plane. That's where we came from. Abraham covers these things in part 1 of the book. Part 1 of the book is titled Things That We Know That You May Have Forgotten, Which Are Important for You to Remember. And how we came from the non-physical plane, are now in the physical plane, and we are doing the same things. So for me, in the several times I've read this book, every time I get this explanation, I really do believe that Abraham is a connection to the afterlife. Like the book says, you only hear what you're ready to hear. So if you like what you're hearing, let's keep going. And if not, give it a shot. Keep on listening, I encourage you, because it's a great message. After Abraham explains where Abraham is from, Abraham then goes forward to discuss an important part that I want to share with you in the story, which is why are we here? How this relates to us in our physical existence. Because this is where we get the information, and we can use this as a tool to help ourselves here in many different ways. Now, the book Ask and It Is Given is in fact titled Ask and It Is Given, Learning to Manifest Your Desires. It's funny because I've read this book so many times, and I feel like that's the bait. That's the thing to get people to read the book, is because I think that we all want to manifest our desires or our dreams or whatever it is we're looking for on this earth that we think is going to help us. But let me tell you that I believe this book is so much more than that. One of the greatest things that we can take away from this book is knowing that we are physical beings, but that we come from the non-physical plane. And what Abraham describes on the non-physical plane is that there is a greater understanding that we are all part of source energy. From my understanding, source energy is equal to God. We are all part of source energy. We are all part of God. Abraham explains that source energy is love, complete love. and that we are not separate from that, that we were born into this physical life with that. There is a challenge in believing this. Many of us do not feel that. Even in my own life, when I look closely with honest eyes and really look around me, I don't see many beings on this earth that really truly understand that. The closest beings that I can see that actually grasp this are children. Children who just know that everything is completely just filled with joy, and children know this without even really knowing it. They are just being it. That is the closest that I can see of a physical being understanding that we are that source energy. We are that love. We are God. The first of Buddha's noble truths is all life is suffering. And I still believe that. That's not a negative thing. I'm not trying to be down about everything. It's just this physical life includes suffering. But that's not the end all. And that's exactly what I want to share with you, because this book explains that. I really do believe that this book gets into it by chapter 2. I think that chapter 2 really nails this down, is that Abraham explains why we are here, what we are supposed to be doing, what is our purpose, and how remembering what we were brought here for can help us make this a very fun and creative experience. Abraham begins chapter 2 with explaining, are you happy? Are you filled with joy? Do you recognize that you are a creator, that you were brought here to have fun and create and live a great experience? It's like, if so, then you are connected. You're connected pretty well. Then Abraham goes to ask, do you not feel like that? Do you feel that you're stuck? Do you feel that this doesn't really make sense about why you're here, and that you have this feeling inside that doesn't feel great every day, and it doesn't seem to just easily go away? That's exactly why this book was written. This book is helpful to those who are great creators already and those who are trying to figure out which foot to put forward. Now, whether you want to read this book or not, it's up to you. It's your choice. But I am not going to leave or finish this without giving to you the major points that are most important to our life experience given to us by Abraham. Number 1, what Abraham has taught and has explained and is here to remind us is that you said, I will go forth into the physical, time-space reality among other beings, and I will assume an identity with a clear and specific perspective. I will learn to see myself from that point of view, and I will enjoy being seen as that point of view. So you come to this life with an identity, what we usually see as something that's horrible, which is an ego. But that's what we come here with. Our ego is a blessing. It's not a curse. We all understand and we all know that ego can get out of hand. But if you don't recognize that we came here with ego intact, with something we planned and we signed up to do, then you'll end up really hating yourself, being really frustrated with yourself because of your ego. Ego and looking at yourself and your own identity might in fact be the answer. Now, the second part that Abraham gets into, which I find is very important, is this. You said, I will observe what surrounds me, and my response to what I observe will cause my own valuable personal preferences to be born. You said, I will know the value of my preferences. I will know the value of my perspective. I've read this book enough times to be able to explain to you this important part. This important part is about the contrast in life. It is about how you were born into a life with your own perspective, and that when you did that, you agreed to be put on this earth around contrast, around people who are different from you. And being put around that contrast was not so that you would sit around and fight it all the time. It was so that you would understand yourself even better. And this is where I think people get really mixed up in life, is that they see this contrast and they think, why is this suffering coming to me? Why do I have to be put around all this junk that I don't like? You were brought here to look at that contrast and say, no, I don't agree with that. Now, how do I use that to strengthen my own understanding of what I do believe? You dove into this contrast for a reason, and that reason was for you to strengthen your identity, to strengthen your views, to strengthen yourself. And I hope you understanding this will help lead into the next part that Abraham gives, which Abraham says is the most important. And that is that we agreed that we will always feel the power and value of our own personal perspective. For the non-physical energy that creates worlds will flow through our decisions, our intentions, our every thought for the creation of that which we set into motion from our perspective. Being around the contrast helps you to understand and strengthen your own personal perspective and gives you drive to therefore go forward and connect to source energy, and then use that passion and use that drive to create, to be a co-creator on this earth. Abraham finishes with the last point, which is, you said, I will love pouring myself into this physical body, into physical time-space reality, for that environment will cause me to focus the powerful energy that is me into something more specific. And in the specifics of that focus, there will be powerful motion forward and joy. Giving a beautiful life experience is one of the best things that you can do for others and for yourself. And that's what this book and what Abraham is explaining. It is the key to joy. It is the key to happiness. And it is also the key to manifesting your desires. And you cannot manifest your desires from a place of lack or suffering. You do it by being put around the contrast and understanding, oh, that's what I don't want. This is what I do want. I like this in my life and I would like more of it. That is how you manifest. You manifest from having a higher energy, a love energy, and understanding that you are a little piece of God running around this earth with the ability to co-create. Now, when it comes to the book, I think I'm going to leave it there. I just wanted to share with you those important parts because I said earlier that I do believe that this book had the secrets to life in some ways. And I believe that is it. I believe I just detailed it to you, as that this is what we need to know. This is what we need to be reminded. The book goes forward to talk about manifesting things into your reality. It discusses having frustrations or problems and how to get past them. The book talks about how your emotions explain exactly where you are at what point in your life. The book explains about how someone else's life experience can't just trample all over yours, is that you have power. You are not powerless in your situation. That is part one of the book. And then part two of the book are exercises. Exercises that help you get from whatever point you feel in your life that you're stuck at. Abraham gives a list, or a numerical list, or a hierarchy, let's say, of energy levels, and starting from the bottom, which is pretty much helplessness, and getting to the top, which is, being co-creative. And it's funny because when I see this list, it always goes through my head. It matches side by side with the map of consciousness that David Hawkins gave, which just completely underlines the fact that this book has so much power, that it has just as much power as a book like David Hawkins' Power versus Force. Now, I'd like to leave you with a story, and that's a story about how this book came to me. This book came to me through my older sister. My older sister was having a gathering at her house, I believe, or having guests over, and she opened the door to her friend, and her friend brought a guest. So she welcomed them, and immediately the guest said, you're the one. The woman explained, I am supposed to give you this, and she handed my sister the book, Ask and It Is Given. And she explained to my sister, it's for you to read. Your father wants you to read it. Now, at the time of receiving this book, our father, our dad, had been dead for over 10 years. My older sister I love dearly, and she's very sensitive, and I can only guess that she was completely freaked out by hearing this. And the woman explained to her, from what I received from my sister, is that she explained, I get information from beyond, and on this day, the book, I took a look at it, and someone told me, grab it, take it, you're taking it with you. And the woman explained about how she took that book with her all throughout the day, not knowing exactly who was supposed to receive it, until the door opened and she saw my sister, and she said, you're the one. You're the one who's supposed to receive this book. Now, from what I remember, is I didn't hear that story from my sister. I heard this story from another one of my siblings who explained that this happened to our sister. Right away, I was thinking, what is that book? I need to know the title, I need to know the author, and I need to buy it as soon as possible. Our dad died from stomach cancer that was brought upon by alcoholism. And even though I was happy that when he left that we had made amends and everything was a lot better in our lives, I also knew it was a sad departing. It was sickness. And a lot of those issues that my dad had that he felt on his path that he wished he can go back and change, he hadn't. And you inherit things from your family. You inherit the good, and sometimes you inherit the bad. And I'd have to admit that there was sadness and grief and debt, emotional debt, spiritual debt that we inherited from our father and from his alcoholism. And maybe it was that sadness, or the fact that I'm really honest about that sadness that we had to deal with after, that this book seemed like a glimmer of hope in some way. In fact, I was scared. I was scared to ask my sister about it, but I knew it's like, I have to get this book. I want the blessing. In fact, I felt kind of like the way the story of Jacob and Esau, about how Jacob stole his brother's blessing. And I thought, I don't really want to steal it from my sister because she is the oldest, but I'm second oldest, and I want that book. I need to get it. But my older sister is really cool, and she explained to me about what happened. She told me the story, and she gave me the title, and right away I went to go get the book. I mean, you got to understand, my dad's in the afterlife, and I believe that, and he had a message through a book to give to us. I wasn't going to blow that off as just something that was kind of like, oh, okay, that's cute. No, this was something really big to me. And then after reading it, and after reading about how it explains about what this life is about, I'll never look at this book and just think it's just some book, it's some kind of self-help book. Not at all. I mean, this was a message from the afterlife for me to understand, like, use whatever contrast you see and that might be holding you back in some ways, or you feel is holding it back, using it as a launching pad to be able to go after your desires, to go after what you want. And it's still something I'm working on every day. And I'm hoping that this story that I just told you, it wasn't to, give you some, little story about ghosts in the afterlife, giving, us these messages. It really is to give you the tools to live a beautiful life, to be a co-creator. If you need to hear this, even just this one little bit today, or watch the video over and hear it again, so that you can brainwash yourself to realize, like, that's right. Something inside of me knows that I am God. I am the son of God. I am the daughter of God in some way. I'm a child of God. And if that's true, that all this mix-up in life shouldn't get me down too much. It's supposed to be like this. This is part of the creation process. And that I can use this to create and to be happy. I hope you take this, even if you don't read the book, you just take just the few words that I gave you, and you can take this and go forward, and I will cheer for you. And I will thank you for making this a much better life experience. So go out there, follow those dreams, follow those desires, and I'll be rooting for you. And I'll be trying to do my part to do the same too, as a daddy. Peace.